So Danish, Sunayana, Soni ji, and Taha, a warm welcome to you all on Filme Shilmy. I think it's an absolute privilege to be speaking with all of you actually for a very wonderful song called Ae Savere, which is a very heartfelt song which talks about a mother and son relationship, you know, and I think it's such a heartfelt tribute as well to Kashmiri Pandits as well, which I think finally get a voice to this song. Thanks to Sunayana and Danish for creating this. So I think the fact that, you know, it's very infrequent where we get to see, you know, Kashmiri Pandits actually get that voice, as I mentioned, you know, through cinema, through songs or anything of sorts. So Danish, how much of that was a driving point for you to create this video as well?
Of course, I'm myself Kashmiri, and my best friend Sunayana is Kashmiri Pandit, and we've been working together for a very long time, and we've done a lot of work for Kashmir specifically because that was my reason to come back to LA from LA to Kashmir to create this industry, create revive cinema there. And I think I've done lot of narratives from Kashmir, all sort of narratives, I think this was something I've been wanting to do for very long. Because I think every story from Kashmir is important and must be told. And there's so many different point of views. There's not just one single point of view from Kashmir. So I think, of course, being close to Sunayana also and her being Kashmiri Pandit and knowing her story, it's sort of a responsibility to also bring this and make this come true. So I'm very excited. I mean, of course, very personal for me. And also being a Kashmiri, I think also being a Kashmiri Muslim, I mean, I don't want to talk about religions and all, but I'm just saying it's a responsibility to showcase all narratives from Kashmir and not be biased towards a certain, have a certain mindset. So I think it's very important for me to tell this story.
Very well said. And I think, Sunayana, as well for you, you are the lyricist of Ae Savere. And I must give a big shout out actually to Shankar, Mahadevan and Archana, Kamath, Hegdekar, who have sung beautifully in the song as well. So a big shout out to them as well. But I think, Sunayana, for you, when you are writing such a song, which again has so many strong emotions involved, because you have, like I said, the cultural background, the societal and political background, as well as this very heartfelt, mother and son chemistry that you have to talk about. So what aspects did you reflect on your personal life to bring out that essence into the song as well?
First of all, thank you for speaking to me. And I think Danish has touched upon all the aspects of how we've been working together for a long time. We worked on the illegal as well, half widow as well. Yeah. So I've done dialogues for that as well. And we have done other videos together. So see, each of us is coming from different stories, not just a Kashmiri Pandit. There are other communities in the world. And right now we can see that they've been, forced to flee, forced to go into exile. So this is, although it's very personal to me, but this story is very universal. Mm-hmm. And this is the right time we can see it's happening all over the world. So, so that way has always stayed relevant for me, because I always believe that you should reveal the song of your pain, not the source of your pain. So if you can talk about that, if you can reveal the song of your pain, you will realize that it will go to many other people. So for me, as Danish said, that Kashmir is very close to my heart. In fact, I should not say close to my heart. I carry it everywhere. It reflects into things that I don't know about. So it is with me. So it does trickle into different things I do. Like if I do poetry, that thing will come out. But then consciously myself and Danish have realized that Kashmir का एक सच नहीं है, उसके बहुत सारे सच है, और I think it happens with all the places. And I think we have that as artists, if we can keep our personal problems aside and see what are these different truths, and we can bring that in our art, or try to bring it in our art, that I think that's something we should do. And myself and Danish have consciously tried to do that, which also has reflected into this piece, Ae Savere.
It's very beautifully put again, and I completely resonate with that and agree with that. And I'm really grateful that you both together have come up with this wonderful song, which is so much the need of the hour. In fact, Soni ji, I think when it comes to Kashmiri roots, I think you also are very much connected there as well. And you did Razi as well recently, in which we saw a very beautiful mother-daughter bond in that, or mother-child bond in that. So for you, I guess, to bring out those emotions in Ae Savere, it must have been quite personal for you in that sense as well, right?
Yeah, well, I have to be very honest. I didn't have a home in Kashmir ever. So I didn't lose a home. So in that sense, it wasn't personal. But what is personal to me is a universal sense of loss and pain, which I think all human beings can identify with and understand. And obviously, if it happened to my own community, then you identify with it a lot more than you would. And so I just feel that, so it is personal in that sense. But I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, I am an actor, and it's finally the song which actually brought out everything. It was, I can't really say that was because of this reason or that reason or whatever. I mean, I just love the story. If it had been about a Afghani woman, or it had been about somebody in Germany in the Nazi regime, which again I identify with, and that's another story altogether. I won't go into it here. But I'm saying that if it had been anywhere in the world, I would have wanted to do it, because it was a beautiful narrative and also a very, very beautiful piece of music. So all these things did add up. But to Danish, it's like he offers me something, I say yes anyway. I mean, even if it's a little jump in the scene and back, because I love the way he wants to tell stories of Kashmir, set in Kashmir, of not just Kashmiri people, but of everybody. I think I love the heart he has to tell these stories, and then, because of course you said because it's Kashmir, it is indirectly or directly, however it is, it's personal in some way or the other, and so there I would always like to support that for sure. And here I got a chance to, in my own way, as an artist, support this particular narrative of the Kashmiri Pandit community, who has gone through so much, and whom I don't think most of us can ever begin to understand what that kind of loss and pain actually means. One doesn't want to comprehend it. You don't want, your mind doesn't go there. So you think, oh God, it'll be so terrible, but you'll never ever think about it in so much depth unless you actually experience it. And so in a way, in those 2 days, I kind of experienced something which perhaps my larger community has experienced in their life, and was able to relate to it in a more profound manner than perhaps I had done before.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, the fact that Kashmiri Pandits were technically kicked out, they were driven out of their homes with violence and such atrocities. I mean, even just recounting it, I mean, I watched Vidhu Vinod Chopra's Shikara, actually, which kind of touches upon this subject. Yeah. And, it's like you mentioned, Soniji, it's not perceived like that at all. People just choose to just not go there because they can't really imagine the pain that they've gone through. And I think that is something which I also very much agree with. And in fact, it's interesting you said that as well. And I think because the emotions are so powerful, I read up an article actually that I think, Alia and Shaheen actually started crying when they heard the song. Is that true?
And they saw it, yes.
Oh my God.
Did my husband. They said it's very, very moving. But it brought copious tears to their eyes. So yeah.
I can imagine. Plus, Alia does have a very soft heart as well. I know she gets emotional very quickly. I've interviewed her a couple of times, and I've kind of got that notion from her too. But
does, and so does Shaheen. Shaheen also.
Yeah. The way she's been speaking about mental health as well openly is fantastic as well, and I really love her for that. But I think, Taha, coming on to you, playing Soniji's son in the video, and in fact, if I can say, I think it's perhaps your most nuanced and most how do I say it, most sensitive performance I've seen of yours, actually, of recent as well. So I think for you to sort of step into that shoes of a son who's trying to sort of bring his mother home to, after his father's death, and, and the fact that she's overwhelmed with so many memories and all that. So for you to sort of step into that character, how emotionally taxing was it for you?
Emotionally taxing? I wouldn't consider it emotionally taxing. I think it was a wonderful experience. I mean, this is something like this, where you get to be sensitive, vulnerable, and get to work with, I mean, Danish and me, again, I know him from the US, and we've said it countless times to each other that we wanted to work with one another. And this wasn't even planned. This just kind of fell into existence out of nowhere. You know, I was going to shoot in Kashmir for something else, and I spoke to him just to meet him, and he's like, I'm shooting the song, so would you like to do it? I'm like, yeah, whatever the song is, I'm down. You know, and then he sent me the song, and then I heard it, and it's a very, like I said, like, you know, the emotional part of it. To be quite honest, I think every time when Danish called action, and they played the song, it was just the feel of the song, the lyrics of the song, the composition of the song that you know, it was like a catalyst to kind of, you know, help both. I mean, it helped me a lot, and I know that Soni ma'am has mentioned it before that, you know, the song has is so great that, you know, you just listen to it and you already feel emotional. And as far as actors are concerned, you know, this is like gold for us. You know, this, if you get to hear something like this, and you don't need to think too much. You don't need to invest like, oh my God, what should I do now? What should I do next? Danish was is a very free director, you know, like he hardly came up to us and he's like, you should do this, or you should. No, he was actually giving us examples, or he was giving us imaginations of what to think of. And I guess, and he let us be. So that's what I love about you, Anders. Thank you so much for letting us be free while we were performing. And for me, you know, the song was one thing, Danish's direction was another. But for me, the most important thing was Soni ma'am, because I'm very close to my mom, and when I saw Soni ma'am, and once we connected, which I instantly, which I think the first day itself, I got to speak to her for a while, and over a couple of hours, I feel like, you know, we broke the ice, and it was great just being around her. You know, her energy, her positivity, her humor, and it takes the chemistry to a long way. And I could just imagine my mom every time Soni ma'am would be in front of me walking or talking about something, and the music played in the background. Everything was just like, you know, adding on. And so Soni ma'am, I would like to thank you again. Every time I meet Soni ma'am, I'm going to thank her. So yeah, again, she really helped me bring those emotions out. And I am not a Kashmiri, I can say, unfortunately. But I do relate to these. I do relate to you know, people being, let's say, thrown out of their homes and starting new lives, and my family has been through that, so I can relate it to it in a certain way. Maybe not as much as that, but I used all of that, and like I said, you know, Danish's direction, Sunayana's music, and then Soni ma'am's performance, and then my experience. I guess everything just put together, and I'm so glad that this has come into existence. Yeah.
Right. And I think kudos also goes to you, Taha, as well here, because you know, you've done another music video with Alaya, which was quite a fun, you know, Desi wedding peppy sort of song. And here you have a complete 360 turn as well for you. So I guess, like you said, it is a bit of a gold mine. I mean, it's a great time as well, right? For you. I mean, I'm sure this is something you've always aspired to get as an actor, right? To get this sort of flexibility and exploring yourself more, right?
I mean, being, you know, I'm always looking for, I think every actor is looking for those sensitive, vulnerable roles, you know, where they get to touch upon those emotions that they normally don't go into. Like who goes and cries, right? I mean, everybody doesn't want to cry. Nobody wants to like show their emotions. You know, people nowadays are not very close to their moms. Very few are, you know. So it was so close to my heart, especially a mother-son story. That yes, I'm always looking for something like this, and I'm blessed that I got an opportunity this year to do something like this. This opens up many avenues, and I'm glad. Thank you, Danish.
Lovely. That's wonderful to hear. Now, you know, Danish, I think we've done that one interview I still can never forget that we did for The Legal. I think that was probably one of my favorite Q&As that I've done for a film festival. And I think we touched upon your sort of filmmaking and the sort of themes that you explore. And I think for me, whenever I think of you, it's always about identity across two geographical locations. like in The Illegal, you had Suraj Sharma's character who was sort of split between, the American dream, but yet sort of trying to survive the grit reality as well of him also being an Indian in that sense too. So I guess because of your life and what you've been through as well, which you also touched upon in your response, I guess you're very, very personally connected through this theme as well. And when you are so invested in such a theme, how do you feel like there's a chunk of you that goes into every story you choose to tell, or every film or series, whatever that you choose to make as well?
Yeah, mostly I've done character-driven narratives, as you know, all the one character and the whole journey, the whole arc, which I really enjoy. And again, this is personal because Sunayana and I we talk about it all the time. But once I write a script, as you know, this is not a regular music video format. It's actually a short story, which
Yeah.
has music to it, and I love that because I've been doing so many music videos, and I was just so done with it.
Yeah.
Like something, I want to write something. So the script came very easily to me because I knew that I wanted to show a story of a woman coming back to Kashmir and reconnecting. Because it's something Sunayana went through when she came back during floods, 3 days before the floods in 2014. And
Mm.
she went through the same process, and the floods came. It was a disaster. She couldn't go back. I remember she stayed in our house, and we were figuring out how we're going to get out of this. And so I think I always had the story I wanted. Even the first time I reached out to Soni ji, I told her that I want to do a story of a Kashmiri Pandit long time back. So I really wanted to tell this story because I've already done another story, Half Widow, Kashmiri Muslim woman, and what happens to her when she loses her husband because of the conflict. So this was another narrative that I wanted to definitely touch upon. And of course, when I get into a character, I imagine myself going through the whole arc of the character. That's how I want to write scripts. I totally imagine if I were there, what would I do? What are the choices I'll make? And I have a lot of sisters. I'm always with my mother. So Nana is my friend. So I have a lot of women around my life. So I do sort of. It's very easy to write about women characters. So definitely, when I have a concept, it very easily flows. I wrote the script in like 30 minutes, 30,
Wow.
40 minutes. Yeah, it's a proper 10-page, 8-page script, and I wrote it because it just completely was flowing. Once you know the crux of your story, what you want to showcase. And it's a very simple story. Anyone can relate to it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very universal theme, I'm sure, definitely. I've seen this whole shift now, I think, in cinema where there's a lot more onus, I think, on short storytelling. I feel like short storytelling has gained a lot more prominence than what it used to have, maybe like what, 5 years ago. And I think it's great because, it is perhaps the toughest medium of storytelling too, because you have to show a clear narrative arc within a very short space of time. So I think Sunana and Danish, for you, because you've both worked together in several amazing films as well, how difficult is it to actually show a clear narrative arc within a short space of time as well?
Well, we love shorts. uh, I mean, within few 5 minutes, I mean, a lot of people complimented this particular Ae Savere that looks like a film. They thought it's a movie of its own. Like you can see the whole character, the whole journey. It's a very exciting medium because you don't need that much money to make it.
Hmm.
It's only 2-3 days. You can do so much. So I think mostly short films. I do a lot of short films, and I think including that with music video format actually audience is more interested because we also add this entertainment factor of music, right? So Nana, like when Priya was mentioning about the something specific, like how through art you can also through music you can also tell such an important story. So
Right.
entertain the audience at the same time you also touch it on such an important subject. So I think shorts is a great format for that. I feel like you can do so much in 5-6 minutes. And also, it's easy for audience to just watch it 6 minutes rather than watching a 1 hour 30 minutes film. And there's so many platforms now for short films. In India also
Mhm.
emerging time with large short films. There's
Yeah.
also apna shorts, hamara short. So I think it's a great format to tell stories like these, which haven't had a platform in the past.
Mm.
Right,
Absolutely.
right, right. I
Like
think also, I think of shorts as a narrative that has been condensed to its maximum potency. Like that we have these perfumes that are like this small, right? I don't know, arc or itr, something's called, right? So it's like you put a drop and then it stays with you forever. That's how I see short stories. Um, we've done so many, Danish and myself have done so many, and I think this is like, sometimes you write poetry of 4 lines and you're able to tell a story. Then sometimes you feel that nahi baat puri nahi hui hai, we have to expand it, and then you write a short story. Then you feel that nahi jahan pe bhi baat puri nahi hui, then you write a bigger narrative. So sometimes then that's how a film comes together. So I think as a filmmaker, it's really great that Danish is able to do. We're able to tell stories in poetry. We're able to tell stories in short stories, short films, and then complete features as well. I'm sure if tomorrow we have to do a documentary of 10 episodes, we'll be able to tell a story like that as well. But yes, as Danish mentioned, a lot of people thought this is a trailer of a movie. They thought it's a song of a movie, because they felt that this was not just something we were making, just something frivolous. There's more to this. And again, from the community, the Kashmiri Pandit community, the kind of response I've gotten is amazing, overwhelming. A lot of people have connected. They said, oh, this is our story. My mother sent it to me, which is like, that has never happened to us before, that, parents related to it. When they went to Kashmir, when Danish was mentioning to 2014, when I came to Kashmir with my parents, and my mother was looking for her house where she had grown up. This is exactly what happened. And I had never shared this with Danish, that that part, but he was able to write it, and Soni ji did that part, like Soni and Taha, when I saw that portion before the edit, I was shocked that how did Danish write this, and how did these, and Soni ji was able to do exactly what I had seen through my eyes. When you witness, I'd said, I was actually visiting Turkey one time, and I saw some Armenian people who were living there, and they had a banner which said, "These eyes have seen exile or genocide," kind of stayed with me. But when I saw Soni ji, I could see that these eyes have seen exile. That's what I can say.
You don't have to even politicize it or show anything.
Right.
Just the character, you know everything, right? So that's what I like about short format, and also it's character-driven narrative, where you don't have to get into politics of it. You show everything through a character, and then anyone can connect to it. Irrespective of their political stance, right? I think that's the beauty of stories that are not apolitical, but more human and character-driven.
Right.
Nuanced Taha's performance also. We're very happy with the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. They both did a phenomenal job. Both Soni ji and Taha did a fab job in the video too, and I definitely agree with that. Now, I remember, Soni ji, when we spoke for When the Crows Visit, which was your British play here in London. I remember, I found it was very fascinating to literally talk about your entire life journey, from beginning with theatre to doing like a lot of films which were considered art house back then, which were very like sort of parallel cinema, very, very amazing works as well. But, there was one thing that you said, that, you're now open and you're now really interested in exploring so much more as an artist now, because, your children have grown up. Everything is pretty much settled in life, and you have all the time in the world now to sort of explore all your avenues. So how has that been for you in terms of an artist of recent? I mean, this was 2 years back. So I just wanted to follow up on that sort of statement that you made.
So very, very interestingly, and also very, amazingly, this me having much more time, to be able to do what I want to do. And the fact that these OTT platforms have suddenly come into their own, which they were in any case doing, with or without COVID. They were already, and then on top of it, COVID happened. So there was even more content being made. So what's happening now is that there is a sort of almost a tsunami of work being, coming out from the industry here, and it's not relating to film. It's all on OTT, and as a result of that, actors like myself are getting a lot more work. I would have had the time on my hands earlier, but perhaps not have the avenue to explore all that time as an artist if there had not been an OTT platform, where now today we're getting like, where you get into a seasonal show or something like that, and you're back for 5 seasons. So you're there and you're, so that is something which is actually just taken off. And I think I'm very blessed and I feel extremely lucky that this has actually happened. And yeah, so it's just all kind of happened at the same time, at the right time, actually. So that's great, yeah.
I mean, is there anything that you aspire to play, especially at this point? Because as you said, it's such a great time to be a creative.
Yeah.
There's so many platforms available. So is there anything that you have in your mind that mujhe ye play karna hai ya mujhe ye explore karna hai?
I mean, there's not anything specific as such, but definitely, and if I would say what is my dream project, it would be obviously a series, I think, not even a film, a series where I could be, helming it, leading it. Top lining it or whatever, and it would be a character which would be interesting and not and somebody who may be a little closer to me, because then it becomes more me driven as opposed to some extra character which I have to kind of create a character and get into the shoes, and I get some of those characters where I have to, it's nothing to do, it's really not very close to me at all, but I create a character, and those are also fun. But I think it's great fun to actually do a show where you are it's just the acting is subtle, and you have to be just you're leading it. So for any actor, that's a dream come true, and I'm no exception to that. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Very well said there. I think, Taha, for you, I think it's literally, like I said, it's a great time to be an actor. It's, there's so much more ability for, actors to perform roles which are not just restricted to, tags like the hero and the villain, so to speak. There's all sorts of characters and all sorts of shades that you can quite beautifully portray on screen as well, given that opportunity. So for you, I think, what sort of approach do you have as an actor now, perhaps which maybe might not have been the same for you when you began your career back in 2008, 2009? So when you did begin there, what was your ambitions then? How have they changed now for you?
Well, before it was, I guess, when you first start off, you're learning quite a lot. It's a new industry. It's a new country altogether, since I grew up in Dubai. So initially it was just about trying and getting work, trying and getting out there, any work, just so that people really get to know you and get to, at that point of time, I had no idea that, you need to choose to film, or what is the right kind of film to choose, what does the market dictate. I didn't know all that stuff. It was just about, okay, whichever films are being auditioned or being cast at the moment, you just try and make way into those, just anything. And now I guess it's more selective. Now it's, it's you have to be very careful as to, sometimes you got to say so many no's that, it might seem like a good thing, but when you look at it overall, when you look at the vertical of the project, when you look at it, where it's going to be released, whether it's going to be released, who's backing it, the female, there's so many things to look at, which I never looked at when I first started off. But right now, it's all about your image, so there's so many permutations and combinations that sometimes many good scripts, sometimes you got to let go good stories that you think are good stories, because they might not have the right production, they might not have the right cast, so yeah, I guess right now it's just about being very selective, like let's say Danish, the opportunity he gave me, like, this is something that I want to do more emotionally touching performances, and and with this, it opens up, like I said, it opens up a lot of gates for me. So I guess right now it's all about strategizing. Nowadays you have your team. When I first started off, I was alone.
Yeah.
So I guess there's so many things over time which has changed, and you just keep looking for that one film, that one character, right? That's actually going to like mark you as somebody who is there to stay. So you're always looking, man, always looking.
Absolutely.
Never stop. I'm still looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It never ends. anything, and if you don't want it to end, it never does.
Yeah, that's very true as well. But I think before I go to my final question, actually, I wanted to get your perspective on what identity means to you as individuals, because I think it forms a very huge crux of what Ae Savere is all about. So, actually, Taha, we'll begin with you this time.
Man, I think identity is something that you realize that makes you comfortable. You don't try and prove a point to anybody. I guess that's also maturity. You're not here to make other people. I mean, you are some people. You have to make them happy, but like not everybody. You gotta like look out for yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that that you're honest to yourself. When you do something wrong, you just have that feeling inside you that you're doing something wrong. So you have to listen to your instincts. I've been in like, when I was a few years ago, I was actually in an identity crisis myself. Like I just didn't know who I was, or what am I doing? And sometimes I guess that comes back in your life over and over again, where you start thinking and what do you call that? Reminiscing? No, not really, but like you're thinking about
contemplating.
Yes, and you're just trying to say that what you're doing is right for you right now, and how you can move forward in a better way. Like initially, like to be quite honest, like I wasn't into all this charity or like going and feeding the dogs and but that's like something which I identify with right now. Like I guess it's from my mom. Like she feeds about 150, 200 dogs a day.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. She's like, and she hasn't missed it for a year and a half. Right. So that's something initially which I thought was quite stupid, to be quite honest. But like, what are you doing? That's like 5 hours of yours gone. It's like, but now I realize the happiness it gives, like even right now, because now there's so many puppies down there under the building, and I can actually, I feel it, I feel for them. I feel for people, it's like, I realize that now we're born to serve, and it's not just serving yourself, but it's about how much you can give back to the community. And as far as being a performer, I guess my identity is to give back in not only an entertaining way, but, hopefully churn those emotions that people have just like, dug inside and kept it there. And I feel that, that's what identity is, being true to yourself and, serving others.
You've asked a very difficult question.
Yeah,
it is.
यही तो trick होता है.
I will have probably one answer today, and by tomorrow morning I'll have a completely different answer.
It's okay. Tweet kar dena mujhe. It's okay.
So basically, I think if I don't know, off the top of my head, I think it's a complex feeling, or it's full of complexity. But I think probably combination of what you believe in as a person, because I think when you're very young, you don't have any strong beliefs or anything like that. And that kind of like evolves with time as you grow up and grow older and understand the world better. And, and a lot of people think their identity might come from religion, but actually they don't realize that that's what they've been fed. That's what they've been given. So when you take away all that, and you're not left with anything that's fed to you. It's also very difficult to even do that, because everything is actually fed to you. You've been brought up with a certain process by your parents to believe in certain values or certain doctrines like religion or whatever by your parents. So you think that that's your identity. But I think it's a complex amalgamation of what you believe in as a person, your core beliefs, and what you've inherited from your community or your parents or your surroundings, wherever you may be living. And therefore, when you sometimes go to another country, or you're born in another country and you come back to your own country, you have then what is called as identity crisis, because you don't know who you are. You're like, am I this? Am I that? So you could be a British born, an Indian born citizen of UK, for example, and be there's a cricket match going on, and your father will be rooting for India, but you're rooting for UK. So that is a crisis of some kind of an identity situation where because I think it's very much influenced by where you're being brought up and the direct influences you have in front of you in life. So I think that's what really identity is to me. I think it is something that, and it's very strange because when I was younger, I didn't identify with Kashmir. I always wanted to go there because I thought it is part of my heritage and part of my
legacy.
What my legacy, my inheritance actually, and therefore it was exciting. It was a beautiful place. It was a nice place to go for holidays, but I never identified with it. And today I'm beginning to do that more and more because I'm learning more and more about the place. But I didn't know that earlier, So again, it's all about what you assimilate through your journey, this journey called life. And I think your identity probably is evolving as you go along through life. So it's an interesting question actually, and
yeah, absolutely. It's very true. But I must tell you though, whenever a cricket match is on, मेरे जुबान पे हमेशा इंडिया का ही नाम आता है because अपना देश अपना होता है.
आपका है, लेकिन एक का फैमिली में मुझे पता है ये हुआ है.
Actually, it's a tough one.
बदमाश बेटा, ये क्या कर रहे हैं? के लिए आप कैसे करेंगे? So that kind of a thing. So it has happened, and it will happen also.
Yeah, it reminds me of Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, actually, that whole Anjali and Krish thing.
Identity.
Yeah, for sure. So Sunayana, what about you? What does identity mean to you?
Yeah, I think Soni ji said everything that was to say about this. Yes, I mean, I think of, now that you asked, I was thinking about it. I think of identity as something which is not fixed, first of all. When you're stripped of all these labels that you don't realize they are labels. You don't realize those are things that have been given to you by others. They're not come from self-awareness or discovery. And like Taha said that maybe earlier he did not identify with feeding dogs now, but he does now. So similarly, there are causes that come to you because they come from your personal experience. Not everything your parents feed you is who you are. Right? I mean, otherwise you are a redundant person. You're not having your own thoughts or likes and dislikes. But stripped of all the labels or things that are given to you, who you are, stripped of all the labels, that is also identity. And then when these labels are with you, that is also you. So if you think of a river and you want to take a slice of a river, so the top layer is always flowing. But there are these stagnant layers down, like आप नदी के तल पे जाएंगे तो पानी ठहरा होता है, वो भी नदी ही है. जो ऊपर का है वो बह रहा है, वो भी नदी ही है. जो बीच का है, it's going on a slower pace, that's also river. So identity is something like that. In the song Ae Savere, there's a line where Soni ji actually sits finally in that house, and she's one with that house called, if you see, there are two lines that I have kind of created as closure of that line. It's the first one which comes is Rubaru hu main tere, where she's looking at the house. Now she's having a conversation with the house, and then it comes together in Hubahu hu main tere. We are one now. We are one now. So sometimes identities are like that, and it brings that closure to you in certain aspects. And as Danish or Taha also said that sometimes we change what we know today. I may feel differently about that, and वो गुंजाइश आपके अंदर होनी चाहिए कि आप बदल सके, और वही गुंजाइश दूसरे लोगों को भी देनी चाहिए. So I think that's what I would like to say right now.
Wonderful.
It's a very important question, and I think Sunayana said it very nicely. I mean, I've been in US for 14 years. Before that, I grew up in Kashmir. So I had this identity issue with me also because in LA, I lived so long, and when I came back to India now, I'm not able to connect the way I used to before when I grew up. So I've faced through this identity crisis multiple times. So Anna knows about it, like how I struggle with small things here in India. But I think identity is something that's your root, who you are, and that's something you take with you everywhere you go. Like even though when I was in LA, I was still doing certain things what I learned from my parents or from my religion or from my culture where I came from. And then I also saw great things in America and their culture and, certain things that really I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. The discipline, how they treat people, the respect. So I just feel like identity is something that you find as you evolve and grow, but you can never run away from who you are. Like I'm always a Kashmiri in the end. When I go to Kashmir, I love being Kashmiri. I love everything about it, right? And I just finding the best of all and putting that together, as Sunayana said, is what makes your identity, And for example, there's certain things about Kashmiri culture or something that I'm not okay with at all. At one point, I was, but I think because of exposure to different countries and different people and different cultures, you find your identity, and at certain point in your life, um, you are who you are, but also the culmination of all these things, and you choose the best what works for you, and you carry it on, pass it on. So it's a very complicated, question for sure.
Yeah.
But I think actually it's something that you change. I mean, you're just growing with it. At one age, you know who you are, what you stand for, and it's like culmination of all your experiences. So one should just always remember their roots. I think it's very important. Never forget who you are, where you come from. It's very important.
Absolutely, spot on. But very quickly, because I know Danish, you also have to go as well. I'm sure everyone has to go as well. So just before we wrap up, quickly, what projects can we look forward to from everyone? Because I'm very much excited to see what's happening next. So Danish, would you like to go first?
Writing forever. We've been writing. There are 2 films set in Kashmir. There's a Hollywood film, then there's a Bollywood commercial love story. So we're doing a lot of different genres.
Oh.
And we started independent, totally, everything we did ourselves, like whatever we had created so far. But now I do have a really good agency who's supporting me, and I think now I'll be able to do like more mainstream work. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
Wow, that's something that I love to hear, by the way, because I know Danish is such a damn good filmmaker, and I'm glad that he's getting this opportunity. He deserves it. So I'm so happy to hear that. I can't wait for that. Sunayana, what about you?
We write together everything. So those are the 2 projects that I'm looking forward to. And in addition to that, I do have a book that's hopefully coming out this year. It's a poetry book called Sunny Side Up. So that's the next thing that's happening. And these 2 films, and then, we are constantly writing, as Danish said, that's a constant writing process, and we're working on many things together. So looking forward to that.
That's wonderful. Soni ji, what about you?
So there are a couple of web series which I'm working on right now. One of them is All My Agent remake, which we're doing, which is going to be out hopefully soon. And then another one which I can't talk. A lot of things I just can't talk about because
I know. यार यही तो तकलीफ होती है. Like जब मैं future project.
Yeah. Then there's a film which is called Pippa, which I'll be shooting for shortly.
Oh, lovely, with Ishan and Mrunal.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
I'm be shooting for that. So I think that much I can say. Now everything beyond that I can't say anything. Sorry, but there is other stuff whose names I cannot mention. Sorry, but suffice it to say that there's luckily a lot of work. And before I sign off, I just wanted to say that everybody's been very kind and said lovely things about me. But I would like to say 2 things. One is that it was all the song. Honestly speaking, I didn't have to work very hard at all. I had to just feel, and the song helped me feel so much that I would never even dream of taking this credit for myself. I would like to say that it was there in the situation, which I have to say the situation itself was a very profound and very, very, what should I say, poignant situation. So that and then everything else with the song, the beauty of the song. And secondly, a co-actor like Taha was not just a joy to work with, because he really was, or is rather, and we had such a lovely time over those 2 days, but also just a sensitive actor and a sensitive soul, very, very beautiful human being. Mm-hmm. And that also brings out, these are all intangible elements which come in, and then I think 2 actors working together in synergy, and they're all both supporting each other in a performance. I think that all makes for a bigger thing. And then you say, oh, this was lovely, that was lovely, but actually you not really put your finger on and say this, it's all together. So I just wanted to say this because it's really what something I mean and I believe. And yeah, I'm not trying to be nice to anyone. I'm like, not at all.
Oh, that's really sweet.
So Soni ji, thank you so much. I mean, we gave her so much trouble. Early morning shifts, 4 o'clock, she had to be ready. It was really difficult. And it was really hot and heavy.
I didn't sleep for those 2 days. So my eyes are all swollen up. I don't know what I've looked like also. Like I looked like I was crying throughout.
Yeah.
I actually exhausted. But that's okay. I understand We got beautiful shots, and it's always such a pleasure working with Danish because he's just, as I said, he's just Taha said, he's just such an easy director to work with, and he's so like chilled, and not hysterical, and that really helps actors, when they're exhausted and getting up at 3 a.m.
Lovely, lovely.
It was real, yeah.
Very true.
Thank you, ma'am.
So Taha, before as well we wrap up, what can we look forward to from you next as well?
Well, over here there's a web series which is going to start soon. I am looking forward there's a South film that I can't really say the name yet, but it's a really big film. Oh. And I've shot one thing in Hollywood that I'm hoping that the festivals open up so that and things get better in the US, which is not that great at the moment. But once they do, I hope that the film kind of takes the festival route. And it's a film called 88 Key Salute, and there's a lot of music in it. It's based in the Cold War. So yeah, that's something that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully that comes out. And as of now, that, yeah. There's another song which is coming, but I'll let you know about that. That's going to be completely different than this one. That's emotional in a different way.
Oh wow, that is okay. Please let me know about this, and I love to hear.
I will.
I get so happy to hear because, as I said, I've known Danish and I've known Taha for quite some time as well. So for me to hear this, it's very heartwarming for me to hear this. In fact, obviously for Soni ji and of course for Sunayana as well, it's so wonderful to hear this journey that you've all have had. And I think on a final note as well, before I wrap up today's session, I'd just like to thank you all for joining me for this wonderful roundtable discussion. It's a dream, I think, to have all wonderful Diggajis join us today for this chat. And, as a British Indian who's of the Hindu faith, I think for me to hear a story like this, to hear, what happened with the Kashmiri Pandits be brought into mainstream light, I think it's so, so important. And I'm really thankful, Danish, Sunayana, Soni ji and Taha for collaborating together and bringing the story alive. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Anuj. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anuj, for having us.
Thank you so much.
Take care, buddy.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.